Hello everybody, and in today's video I'm going to be going over what I think the Romanian women's eights did that helped them win the gold medal in Paris. If you're new here, my name's Jack Burns. I'm the founder and head coach of Edge Rowing, where we work with busy professionals to get them to row to the best versions of themselves. What we're going to be doing is breaking down the stroke, and again, obviously it's going to be my opinion, so feel free to disagree if you want. In my opinion, what they do, and I'll try and just break it down in a way that I think you, the viewer, can take away tidbits into your stroke, so that tomorrow, your next session or whatever, you can go away and implement it. So, yeah, let's get into it. Now, again, I think the big thing I really liked about their stroke, and I think just like good rowing. Oh yeah, and also I don't even know if you're watching this. Then it means I bypassed World Rowing's filter thing, so we'll see if this even works. I know other people have had their stuff taken down before. I'm not putting ads on this. So, anyways, what I think good rowing ultimately is about is just making it look like a lot of things, just making it look easy, making it look simple. Making it look effortless. And I think all these crews do this. Yes, I would say. I would say so, but just definitely, in my opinion, the Romanian women's eight do it better than everybody else, and it's part of the reason as well. Obviously, they're quite a high rating crew. I can't remember exactly what they rated for this race. But to kind of maybe get to the first point, for crews that I think can rate high, a big part of why they can rate high is just stillness. And the big thing is, say if you're rowing along, like rate 18, nice and slow, nice and steady, and then you maybe are doing kind of a bit of an extra lunge at the catch where you're going like that with your body, and then at the finish you kind of take the blades out and you slump down a little bit more. You can get away with that at 18 or so because you're not moving that quickly, you're not taking that many strokes. But when you go and you do that lunge, that extra movement that's not required there or at the finish there or whatever, you're having to move a lot more basically, and it just means you've got more space to move at the finish here. If you get here, and this is where you should stop. I should pretend I'm doing sweep like that, and you stop here, and this is where you need to stop and sweep, but then you keep going a little bit more, you lunge, you fall a little bit further back. You then have to make up for all that space that you lost, and then same at the catch. If you lunge, I know this camera might not be the best for whatever. At the catch, if you lunge like that when it's not required, you're just having to move then back from there, and you're just creating so much more movement for you. That isn't gonna help as you try and rate higher. So the big first thing I would say is, if you want to rate higher like the Romanians do, and like all these crews do, is just be more still in your body. And even when I know they're just off the start here, but it's really this front end part of the stroke here. Okay, I'm gonna try and scroll it, but I don't think it's actually gonna work. If we look at this position, as they go kind of from this position, all these angles, if we look at their face, how still they are in the shoulders, this body angle stays the same as they slide in, and then it stays the same as they slide out. So one way you can think about it is, well, one thing I really like to, when we're coaching, talk about is, again, we're in Aberdeen today, so I'm not in my optimal office. I'm set up for filming, but if you think this is you, so you've taken the stroke here, side on shot, you rock forward here and you get into this body position. When you slide into the catch and then slide out, the only thing that should change is you slide in, a slight lift in your hands, and then you slide out. But apart from that, all of this upper body should just be still. When I used to erg, this is a good tip as well. When I used to erg, I would place a mirror so that, as if, in the same way you can see me rowing like this, it'd be a mirror so I could see myself on the erg. And I'd always have it at this front part of the stroke. and I'd slide in like that and then drive and take the load. And even when I was working really hard, I'd work on being still in the bodies, slide in, slide out like that. Maybe a way to try this first is get rid of the handle. Trying this on the erg, and just literally have nothing in your hands and practice slide in, slide out, and just see how still you can be. And you'd be surprised at how many micro movements there are when you do that. So yeah, and then when you go into normal rowing, when you start to push, try and have the same idea of stillness. And the really hard part is doing that, having that stillness when you are at rate 40 in the world championships. Yeah, so that's one thing. I think they all do this well together. They're all in time together. So there's lots of front end drills that you can do. If you're in the northern hemisphere right now, depending on when you're watching this video, you might be going onto the erg. So this is something that you can do a lot. You can work on when you're on the erg. But yeah, just really, sorry, jumping all over the place here, but just really, really nice stillness and simplicity to their rowing. So maybe, okay, I'd say 2-seat, maybe a bit of extra motion there, but generally really, really nice and still. Cool. So, that's the first thing. There's 3 things that I think they do really well, in my opinion. The next point is, we go on about this all the time. I think it's probably one of the easiest bits of free speed, probably the biggest return that you can get in terms of technique. In terms of how hard this is to change versus how much output you get for it, this is one of the first things we look at when we're coaching as well, is blade work. So, and specifically blade work at the finish. So if we just look here, what they do here, and especially look at bow seat here. This is a great example of how well this crew does this. Is they take their blade pretty much entirely out square. They take their blade entirely out square. Is that grammar? They take their blade out square entirely. Oh my god! Move on to the next. Get on with it, Jack. Anyways, they take the blade out square, and then they turn it feathered. And I think it's bad if you leave your blade under the water and you start to turn it feathered. So I'm going to do a little hand demonstration for you guys today. So if we think about coming through, this is the simplest thing I think you can change. When you come through the finish, this is the water line, this is your blade. Literally do this. Take the blade out square and then turn it feathered. You do those 2 things, you do them at higher rates, you're going to go super, super quick. When I was racing, that was one thing I would think about all the time. It's just take the blade out square, then turn it feathered. So simple. So overlooked. I think it's I've heard people talk, this is so in my opinion, this is stupid, but when crews, I've heard some coaches talk about how when you drive through with the finish here, you should turn your blade feathered underneath the water because you're maintaining connection. You're still maintaining connection as you turn the blade feathered. But that doesn't make any sense because if your blade's turned and you push like that, you're only going to dig your blade deeper. Anyways, this crew, in my opinion, they do this really, really well. It's a good thing to do as a crew as well, to get rowing together if you find your balance is off. Square blade rowing, yeah, I know a lot of people hate it, but it makes you faster, so just do it. You can keep doing the same thing and stay comfortable and not make any changes, or you can do things like square blade rowing, and they're gonna feel bad in the short term, but they're gonna help you long term. Personally, I think getting faster is more fun than staying the same. Anyways, square blade rowing is a really, really good drill for this. There's some other good drills that you can do working on tapping the blade out square and that extraction, but this crew, they do it so nicely and so cleanly, and they just get such a nice run off the finish. And what I was talking about there with bow seat is a good example of why they do this really well. Is in an 8 especially, why bow seat, one of the reasons bow is such a hard seat to row is right at the finish here, you have all of the crew's weight is sinking down into that bow seat. So that means, if you were to compare this seat to stroke seat, if you could see them, her gate is going to be really close to the water, which means she has more tapping down to do at the finish. But as you can see here, even with the boat sunk all the way into the water, that bow seat is still popping the blade out really nice and cleanly. And I think I could be totally wrong. I think they have an Italian coach, or I don't know, but I think this is quite an Italian style as well, to have such clean blade work at the finish. But anyways, that is the second thing I think that they do really well. The third and final thing I think that they do, for fuck's sake. This always happens when I'm talking. When I'm changing in between monitors, I always forget to swap back. I'm not editing this. I'm not going over that again. I'm going to show you what I was talking about there. It's free content. Fight me. Anyways, the bow, all the weight goes into the bow. Her gate is very close to the water here. She has a lot of room to tap down, but she still takes this blade out really nice and cleanly. So yeah, just a good example there. Anyways, the third and final thing, well, there's, obviously loads of things, but the third thing I think that they do well is they maintain a connection throughout the stroke. They're on with the legs, they're connected, a really good catch, but I don't want to go into that in this video. The GB Men's 8, that was a good, I went more, they both do the catch really well here. I went into the catch a bit more with the GB Men's 8, so if you want to look at that one, just go and search it on my YouTube videos. But what I really like about this Romanian crew, that just gives them a really nice, simple, clean rhythm, is they just don't overcomplicate the drive. I don't think at any stage they're not like whack the legs and then nothing through the finish, or nothing on the legs and then all of it through the finish. It's just a really nice sort of feel and press, at least it looks like a feel and press of connection throughout the whole of the stroke. So right when they're on, okay, if we go here, blades are in, they're just pressing and they're just pushing, and at a stroke rate of 40, you're not going to try and break the foot plate. You're not trying to crush any watts or anything like that. Like the actual, I actually don't know, but at this stroke rate, the actual pressure and the amount of force per stroke is probably going to be far closer to the amount of force per stroke you would have if you were doing a low intensity rate 18 session. It's just because they are at this higher rate that they don't need to push that hard. And I think, even, don't get me wrong, I think still at 34, 36, you'd still want that same idea of tapping it. The rhythm of the drive really, really changes at higher rates. I think once you get above sort of 26, you go from more of a sort of chunky kind of rhythm to more of a just keeping it high, keeping it light. But even with all this speed that they have, if we just look here, it's just this idea of feeling. And when I say feeling, I mean feeling the grip. And it's pressed as well. It's through the feet. So some specific, obviously when you're driving your legs down, it's pretty easy to push through the feet, obviously. But when they come through here, when the legs, okay, it kind of looks like this sort of like different leg drives going on here. But anyways, if we look at 7 here, okay, her legs are straight. She's pushing through the foot plate here. There we go. Terrible demo here. Pushing through the foot plate there, all the way through the leg. But even when her legs are straight, she still has connection through the handle and into the water here. So I think one thing that they do well is, even as the legs are down, they still are holding on to the spoon. They're holding on to the load by transferring that force through the foot plate. And the way to think about this is, this is a mistake that I'm going to try and change the monitor to big again, and I'm definitely going to forget to make it go small again. This was a mistake that I made. Um, was when I got taught to row. I got taught to row really, really long, and to pull really, really hard. And if you just get those two things right, all you need to do is rate higher. So I got really, really good at moving the boat quickly at stroke rate of 24, stroke rate of 22. However, when I would try and go up the rates to 28, 30, I would really, really struggle to get higher than that. And the problem was that I was literally just pulling too hard. Like I was almost rowing too long as well, and pulling too hard, which goes against what it was ingrained into me in the GB start system as well. And so many I think I don't think I've ever heard a rowing coach, apart from myself and our coaches. I don't think I've ever heard a rowing coach tell me or tell someone else to row shorter and to pull less hard. It was only ever through rowing through other rowers that were better than me at the time, that I needed to row shorter and that I needed to pull less. So when you're starting off, it's really good to have this idea of length and power. However, as you get to these higher rates, to get a bit more efficient, you want to stay within a good range where you're not compressing too much. And you just want to think about not trying to force anything, but you're just kind of coming through, connect, push. And when you're coming through here, you're not like looking to, but you're just looking to feel that connection. And if you just feel connection the whole time that you're in the stroke, and feel that connection through the foot plate, through the hips, through the lats, you're going to drive the boat more effectively. And you know, one of the, I nearly forgot. I think there was a really good shot of it in the bow seat when we had that. Yeah, this clip here. One of the results, so the boat here just runs so flat. Like, it's almost like there's just an engine in the boat and there's not even anybody moving in it. It just totally runs like still. It's not kind of going up and down like that. And why that is the case is when you put the blade in the water and you drive with the legs, you're lifting your weight off of the seat, which means you're taking your weight out of the boat, and then the boat jumps up a little bit as well. And the more suspended you are, the more you're driving, the more power you're producing, the more weight that you have lifted out of the stroke. And as you come through the middle part of the stroke, generally sort of around here is when your force is the highest, which means generally more of your weight is out of the boat, which means that this is why you'll often see the boat lift out of the water in the middle part of the stroke. So, great. This is where people will go wrong when it comes to the finish and they go past here and the legs are down. They immediately stop thinking about pushing through the foot plate and they just think, right, weight back on the seat, let the arms come through like, and they don't finish off the stroke. What that means is they go from all of their weight, say, I'm going to make this number up, but say, 70% of their weight is suspended. And then all of a sudden they go from 70% to the second half of the drive, and then they go all the way down to basically like 5%. That weight drop is kind of like you just picking up a 70 kilo weight or whatever, or like, and just dropping it on the boat, and just poof, that boat drops and sinks like that. Now the way you want to avoid that is imagine you're kind of almost like, I don't know how to go with this analogy. This is like, I'm making up this analogy for the first time, so bear with me, but rather than dropping that 50 kilo rock or whatever onto the boat, how would you put it onto the boat? You gently put it down onto the hull and rest it onto the hull and place it down. And when you come through this second half of the drive, while you'll be producing less power, if you're still maintaining connection and pushing through the foot plate, you will still, it's this idea of just like, as your connection drops, but if you do it gradually and you hold on to it, it's kind of this idea of you're letting your weight gradually return to the water and you're allowing that boat to be gently put back down into the water rather than getting to like here and just losing connection, stopping pushing through the foot plate and boom, dropping all the crew's weight into the bow seat. And again, in this crew, they really do do a good job of maintaining that nice hull drive. And okay, you know, maybe this is where the boat designs are different, but if we just look at the Dutch, you can see the Dutch boat looks like it sinks lower. It sinks lower at the finish compared to the Romanian one. So, but yeah, a lot of that down is down to the hull design as well when you're comparing crew to crew. But yeah, the I think that's it. I think that's it. I don't know what else I was gonna say. Oh yeah, the last point is like, so you don't actually get you where water causes resistance. If you want to get into the fluid dynamics of it, it's not necessarily when it's just running through the water. It's the change when water is, if you think of this like the hull, and then water goes up the hull as it sinks and then it goes back down. It's that sort of friction of water going on the hull that when it moves on the hull that it creates resistance. So that's why if you can just have a hull that runs far more flat, then it goes in that direction without that sort of frictiony sort of thing. It makes the boat go quicker. But anyways, okay. Hopefully World Rowing doesn't take this down. World Rowing, no one cares about rowing footage. The only people that care about rowing footage are rowers. Stop trying to sell this footage to people watching like football or fun, entertaining sports. Rowing's not an entertaining sport. It's about hard work, okay? I mean, I find it entertaining, but that's not why people watch it, in my opinion. Anyways, oh my god. So yeah, if they delete this, I'll probably just make a Google Drive link or something like that and share it with people. But yeah, okay. Let me know what you think, everybody. If there's any other crews you want me to have a look at. Ideally, it's crews that have like lots of free footage as well. So like the World Rowing stuff is good, but it normally gets taken down. So any of like the Instagram clips or the YouTube videos are good as well. So yeah, let me know what you think. If you like this video, like it. If you didn't like it, dislike it. And yeah, all the best.